Hey everybody, welcome back to Ogresspeedshop. So we're going on to the next round of work on 1970 GMC 2500, and part of that's going to be including the steering column rebuild, or at least getting it to work better to make the shifter work, plus a new switch, new balancer, new timing cover, all kinds of different stuff that we got coming in and that need to be put on. So trying to get this thing one step closer to being back on the road. Go ahead and get into the next round of fun with the 1970 GMC 2500. Oh, I sure am glad this thing needs replaced, because that thing was stuck on there and would not come off. And I mushroomed the nut head, or the bolt head, the shaft. So I have to fix that. But oh yeah, God, look how gummed up that thing is. But other problems we got to figure out is why this lever doesn't move the way it's supposed to. So kind of all over the place again here. There's a spring from, yep, that's why it doesn't cancel, because of that. But anyways, tear some more into this, see if we can figure out why the shifter ain't working. All right, we got that cleaned up now. Got the threads fixed on it. And I tell you what, if you don't have one of these things here to help you fix messed up bolt heads and whatnot, then you need to get one, because they work great. And then I chased it with a regular chase tool, and yep, that's it. Went to try to use that tool and it started pushing through the shaft, so I had to hold it in place with something. These work really nice too, so they don't mar your shaft or like shocks or whatever. They have these like nice little rounded grips on them. Works pretty good. So now I got to pull the rest of it apart, because that switch is definitely bad, and I got to still figure out why this doesn't move. Because you're not supposed to, like, you should be able to pull it back, and you know, it should be able to move forward and backwards, but it does not. So you got to figure out why. Yeah, so if you get the steering wheel off, what happened is I tried using my steering wheel puller. See those two holes on the side here, these ones here? They're usually 5/16 24, I think. So 5/16 fine thread. And try to pull it out with my steering wheel puller, and it's tripping on the hole. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll helicoil it. Then I started tapping. I'm like, wait a minute, why don't I just tap it to a bigger size? So I tapped it to 3/8/16 and used the bolts for that. And it worked, and got it off finally. And you can see how tore up this thing is. It's not worth much anyway. So another thing I put on the list of items needed. But that's what projects are about. So now let's get this switch out of here and see what we can find on it. Get this out. Phillips head right here to get this lever out. And then there's 3 more Phillips heads that hold the switch in. So this lever just has a roll pin that holds it in there. So I got a set of roll pin punches here to find the right size and punch her out. Wham! Don't want it to go flying. Voila, there's your roll pin. Now, the lever should just come right out. I can figure out why. Probably because it wasn't in the right spot. Plus there's a bunch of fur in there. Is it just fuzz, or is it? Oh, the bushing's gone, that's why. I have to check and see if they make a rebuild kit for this. I think they do, to rebuild the steering column. Should go on that. Okay, so that lever down in there is actually stuck too. So let's continue disassembly here. This just slid up out at this point, but maybe not. It's supposed to move up and down like that. That's how you get your motion, your movement with the shifter. There it goes. It's good to have it in the right position. I had it locked in the area where it, yeah, I had it in the wrong area. Okay, so this Use the slide a lot better on that. Usually you can deep in these things to pull it out so you don't have to cut the rubber, which is what I'll do later. For now, I just need it out of the way. Actually, since I'm replacing that, I'll just cut it now. I might actually have a newer version of one of those laying around here someplace. Make sure I don't forget to put this back on here. Make sure you remind me. Don't forget the rubber. It's good advice for anybody. Don't forget the rubber. Alright, we definitely got to figure out why that is sticking like that. Let's see. Maybe a little looby-dooby. That's all I needed. Actually, I think this is supposed to stay in place, and that lever is supposed to move back and forth. More bushings and spacers and all kinds of stuff in here. Like the wind's picking up out there. And I ran out of kerosene, so probably won't be out there much longer. So I want to freeze. It's supposed to be 29 degrees tonight. Alright, so I got this freed up somewhat. Let's see how it works. I got another camera over on the other side there, so that's park, so it's locked into park, which is what we want. So we're in park, can't move it from there, but go back, so that's freed up now. That didn't used to do that. So back, can't move it from there, but back, so that's freed up now. Didn't used to do that. Back, reverse, which is still very, very loose. So we gotta check the detents up on the shifter plate up there too. That should be neutral. Drive. 2 and 3, 1 and 2. So yeah, it's still really, like, this isn't actually attached properly. I just wanted to get it loosened up because it wasn't moving at all this way. Like, the lever wasn't giving the lever action to go into park. So you couldn't do that motion right there, which is pull it. To get it out of gear, or to get it out of park. So now we got all that going. Just gonna be some adjustments to do to make it all work together. Okay, so we got the steering column, the shifter semi-working now. It at least locks in. We just gotta work on some spring pressure and whatnot, figure out all that stuff, but I think I need a rebuild kit for it anyways. So I'm moving on to this right here. The pedal seems to be awfully low, and something I noticed, because this plate has the stopper for it, is when this is in here, that's about a ½ inch away. Get my fingers out of the way. So that's about, you know, a good ½ inch or more away from the pedal, and it should be closer. I don't know why this is so far down. It's just adjusted way down. So I'm gonna pull it off, loosening that bolt right up there. Sorry about that. So I'm taking this bolt off right here and gonna see what we find and see where the pedal's supposed to be. And maybe pull the booster off because the brakes aren't really working. They're kind of working. I can definitely feel a pedal now. It wasn't doing that before. But I think there's a leak in one of the wheel cylinders in the back. I just haven't got to that part yet. But, you know, this is not one of those things where we're just kind of jumping around from doing things as we find them. So that's what I'm doing right now, just loosening that brake pedal up. All right, so we got to adjust it out a little bit. And that's about the max it can go. So I got a little bit closer that way. So see, the gap is a lot less now. But it seems to have a pedal now, like it's solid, and it does have power brakes, so get some vacuum into it, it might start to come more back around. The rear reservoir was empty when I first got the truck. Topped everything off and been pumping it up every now and then. Brakes aren't locked up or nothing, so it still moves and rolls. So I think we probably have brakes on it now. Like I said, I think this wheel cylinder back here is leaking. I saw some fluid on the tire, unless it's old. But this one, like I said, that's one of those things that we gotta check at some point, but we're not gonna get into that right now. But I just wanted to see if the pedal could be adjusted, and it is. I like it a little bit higher than what it was. It was like, I mean, it was almost to the floor the way it was. I got the switch for the turn signal. So I picked that up this morning. So we can fiddle around with that if we want to. I got to put one of the brake switches in there. I want to try to see if this one will fit in case I ever do swap over to a 700 R4 or something and I need the lockout. But other than that, oh yeah, I got a new crank bolt because I have, if you all remember, the crank is stripped. So I ordered a time cert, which should be here next week sometime. And I'm gonna retap that and put a time cert in it. And the time cert's a little better than the helo coil. So it should take care of the, being able to bolt the new balancer on. Plus you gotta be able to put it on somehow without threads. I can't put that on there without, I don't like heating these up because of the rubber on them. I know you can do it without getting near the rubber, but I'd rather not take the chance. And when that comes in, we'll tap that. I think that's about it for that. So we're gonna continue on with the brakes and the steering column. I'm probably gonna pull the steering column off, and I'm gonna look and see what kind of rebuild kits they have for this. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this column out the rest of the way. I already have the two bolts that hold the clamp up on here, which is, where's the clamp at? Right there, that clamp. It holds it just up to here. So there's a couple bolts on the firewall right there that hold the plate in. And then the rag joint, the one that's all nice and full of stuff that I need to scrape out. I'll show you that real quick too. So that's the mess I gotta dig through to disconnect that rag joint. Isn't that pretty? Oh, yummy. And then we can pull the steering column out so we can work on it on the bench. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. The words. And I just ate lunch and I excused myself. I just burped. It happens. All right, so I got some of it cleaned up. I got the bolt out of it, and it was still covered in grime. I didn't think the 7/16 was fitting it right. And then tried a 12, and of course it didn't fit. That cleaned it off for me to see the 12 point, which I thought it was originally, but couldn't get to work. And now it does. It grabbed it, got it out of there. So now we can get that rag joint off the steering box. All right, slid off pretty easily. Probably because it's well lubricated. And let's disconnect the plate from the firewall and see if we can pull that off of it. All right, so up underneath here, there's two 5/16 screws that hold that plate in. And then there's some more out underneath the hood here to hold another plate in. So there's a 1/2 inch there and 1/2 inch on top. And that's what holds all that stuff in on that side. And there's a seal. I think that's it after that. I don't think there's any more. Is there another? There might be one down below here. Nope. It's all just a rubber seal, so we don't want to tear that either. So let's get that out of there. Get the 5/16 first, so that little plate ain't holding the whole thing up. And then we'll take these off here. All right, so we got those 2 bolts out right there. Now, this is a clamp that holds this plate. So there's a clamp right here that goes around the steering column that holds onto this plate right here. That's what keeps it in place. So we need to get that separated from it. And we might have to loosen the booster too, because that plate is pinched underneath it. So just to make room for it, but we gotta get that clamp off. I was able to wiggle that out without removing the booster. So now there's nothing holding that up, and that can be pulled out. Just gotta be careful of that rubber because it is pinching it a little bit. And then we gotta pry that the rag joint a little bit more to get it to push up through. And then hopefully the rag joint can fit through that slot. If not, we'll have to pull this little, I guess we can just do that anyways. Pull that little bracket off right there to allow it to clear. All right, so we got that little bracket out of there. Had to remove this parking brake cable hanger too. And just 1 bolt because the cable was right over top of the last bolt down there. Yeah, go figure. So we should be able to get it out now pretty easily. Why are you so loud? Get to play around, rotate it a little bit here and there, and disconnect the neutral safety switch. And, well, the shaft is coming out separate. So let's go ahead and just see if we can separate it that way. Get that part out. Ah, there we go. So I pull the rest of it out from underneath the hood. Get the rag joint up and out of that slot there. Kind of pinched my hand, that felt great. There you have it. So we got this all out now. I don't see anything completely worn out on it. Not even the bearings are really that bad. I mean, there could use some greasing, but overall, see, that just needs some grease in there. We're good on that. So we're gonna tear this apart and like lube everything up, clean everything up, make sure everything's still locking in the way it's supposed to, and then we'll go from there. But overall, I don't think I need to even buy the kit, because the only thing I see that's kind of like wonky on this is that seal right there. But I'm not going to buy an entire kit when these are all good if it's only the seal that's bad. So let's go ahead and get this thing torn apart and see what we got inside of it. Well, I got the neutral safety switch out. It looks like it's new, like it's been replaced. So I'm sure it works, but we'll test it out to make sure it works the way it's supposed to. All right, so once you get these clamps off of here, that allows you to remove this whole intersection, which has all your shifting mechanisms on it. And it looks like we gotta see if there's a way of disconnecting this so we can clean all this stuff up. If not, we'll just clean it up, lube it up real good, and stick it all back together. Should be to make it work a lot better than it was, that's for sure. We'll clean everything up on it, so that way we won't have to go back in it in my lifetime anyways. All right, we got these things cleaned up now. Check this out. Look how nice and shiny that is now. All that grime and grit is out of there now. Oh, these are cleaned up. Just gotta reassemble them. That moves a lot better than it used to. Should be a much smoother shifting now. And that is once we get the shifter portion of the transmission working the way it's supposed to as well. It kind of works, but it's definitely bent up and needs some adjustment. But that's what we're doing. We're building this thing. We're having fun with it. At least I am. And so yeah, let's get this thing back together so we can get it back in there and get the new switch. I got a new turn signal switch here. We got a new turn signal switch. And we just gotta maybe work out the top here a little bit. But we're gonna do all that outside the car so that way we don't have to worry about it too much. So yeah, we're getting there. All right, so the way this goes together, you can see right here that the detent plate right here for the shifter lines up with those holes. You put this clamp on there and it holds it in place. And it's kind of neat the way it works, because up here, that's where your lever goes in. That's where this little piece goes into there. As you pull it back, it actually forces this down, which forces this middle section down to go past your detent. Allows you to shift the transmission. It's kind of neat. Pretty simple, but complicated at the same time kind of thing, but cool as heck. Yep, so let's get this thing back together. Let's cover something kind of cool on this. So these holes that this bushing back here, this metal bushing, that it's basically a retainer plate, a retainer block. It's adjustable. You can twist it because it's these slots actually are angled this way. So as you twist it, I don't know if I can do this with one hand or not. You can twist it, and let me set you up on a pedestal. So that allows you to actually spin it in and out. If you look right there, it moves in and out from the shaft, which gives you more play on your shifter. So we want it kind of a little bit tighter because we don't want it to come too loose, but right about there might be a little too tight. So we can back it off now. So there, still too tight? Well, probably isn't, but you just don't have the leverage right now to do it. But yeah, that's adjustable, so kind of cool. So I almost forgot to put the rubber seal, the firewall seal, and the plate back on. I figured while I had the plate out, it's metal, put a little paint on it so it doesn't rust anymore. Cleaned it up first, obviously. You can put that one back on too. That goes on the inside. Well, they all go on the inside, but you know what I mean. Got all this from from here back is all inside the truck. Oh, we just got a package. I don't know if we'll get to this video or not, but I hate to change the way they package stuff. All right, so we got our HEI distributor and our new wires in. So now we can get rid of the points. Not that they're bad. I have no problem running points, but since I've rewired everything, I'd rather have all new stuff. So let's take a look at this. So I just got the Summit brand one. It's the same one I have in the Firebird. It's never given me any problems, so I am fine with it. I think it's the same one I have in the Firebird. One of the Firebird only cost me like 60 bucks. This one was 93 or something like that. And I got the cut to fit wires to go with it, so I can make nice clean runs that don't stick straight up in the air like that. So that's what we're gonna do. But like I said, I'm not sure if we're gonna get to that on this video or not with everything else that we've found and are doing. So yeah, we'll decide that later. We gotta get this thing back together. So I'm gonna look back at the video, but I'm pretty sure when I took this apart, those two washers right there were on top, which might be why it was never shifting properly. So first you put the metal washer. Let me tear it apart, so take it out so you can see. So the metal washer that goes down in there first. See right there? And then this plastic one that has a little cutout in it, that goes in next. It fits down in that little indentation. Then your slider or your shifter mount here. Let me set you up on a stand because I need both hands to do this without trying not to screw up the brand new switch. I'm pretty sure this was put together wrong originally, which might explain a lot of stuff. Yeah, I was totally wrong. It was together right from the get-go. I'm not sure what I did to free it up and make it tighter, but it's a lot better now. All right, so then this piece goes on, and it's got to line up with this little lever right here, this, I don't know what you want to call it, protrusion, maybe. So that goes down like that. Now we're flush. Okay. So the next one is this plastic piece right here. It's got a little cutout on it or a little lip. And that goes just like that to go into that cut right there. Then your seal. This is kind of warped a little bit, but it's still pliable. So then that goes on. Then you can get this thing to go down on the way it's supposed to. But I got to loosen up the bolts because it's not enough room to get it on there and twist it, because this thing has to be on a certain way. I'll show you that. This has been the bane of my existence right here. Getting these wires to route properly, and I just hope when all's said and done and I pull this thing off of here, it's actually going to work. Actually, what I'm going to push that in. It allows me to move it up and down easier. So this needs to go down on, and it turns. And then this aluminum piece right here has actually got cutouts that line up with these shelves up here. So they have to go on a certain way. Just like that. Well, LB. I think that's good. Let's see if the screws lined up. The screws are lined up. Okay, that's out. Cool. So just tightening this down, it should bring it right into place. Wow, that was a pain in the butt. But it's all good now. You see how well that lined up too. So your hazard button lined up really nicely. And so it turns on, you turn it off. You got left and right. So yeah, I think we'll be all right. And the wires came out lining up somewhat. That'll work though. All right, all back together. Let's try the shifter. Let's put the shifter back on and make sure that works the way it's supposed to. Okay, so we're in park right now. Put it forward, go to reverse, go to neutral, go to drive, and all the way down. Kind of hard without the actual transmission hooked up to it, but it does seem to be working now. A little smoother than it did before. So you see that end there too, looking pretty good. All right, so now we need to test the neutral safety switch as well. The way it would be if it was in the truck. So this is this hole right here. Can you see that? Yeah, a little bit. So that hole right there is the top. That's where it centers on the frame. So that is the top of it. Yeah, that is so much smoother since put together right. I do need to look at the video to see, because I think I did film tearing this apart. So I'm wondering if I remember it wrong, or if it was wrong to begin with, which would explain a lot of things about the shifter. So this neutral safety switch is real simple. It just bolts on with 2 bolts. You get all these things. See, that one goes that side, these go this side. So there's 2 screws out here and 2 5/16 headed bolts. I'm sorry, 1/4". I think these are them. Just gotta make sure this groove right here lines up on this lever right there. And it has adjustment. You can see where it can slide back and forth on here to adjust for your neutral safety. You see how it moves? You can move it back and forth to adjust it. Just gonna set it's in park. So we're just gonna kind of set it right there where it's, I think it's in park. The switch anyways. Okay, we're gonna put a meter on it to see if that if it works in reverse and neutral. Pretty sure the neutral safety works because we were starting it, cranking it through this, So we'll see. All right, so I believe I'm in reverse right now. So we're gonna go back into park and it should start beeping. Okay, so we're beeping there. Well, that does not sound good in there. I think that switch might be bad. Okay, so there's park. Let's see if we can find reverse. Looks like that's reverse right there. I'm gonna try spinning it back a little bit. I think that should be neutral right there. That should be reverse. That should be park. Reverse, neutral, drive, 1 and 2. Neutral, or I'm sorry, park, reverse, neutral, switch over to reverse, lights. There's reverse. Okay, now it's lining up the way it should. I might have to adjust it again once we get on the car and get the transmission and everything hooked back up. But for now, everything's working, everything's shifting the way it should, which is much better than it was. And we should have brand new lighting too, so we have a brand new switch that works, hopefully. But let's get her back in the truck. All right, it's the next day and we have the steering column reinstalled with my Firebird steering wheel on it. But check this out, the new switch, turn left, it cancels, turn right, it cancels. So that's the way you want it to work. And everything's hooked back up here. I ordered a new rag joint, so that'll be in, who knows when. It's Amazon, so, you know, it is what it is, and never know when it's actually going to be delivered. But, so that's all good. The shifter moves the way it's supposed to now, locks in and parked the way it should. So we're good on that. So now we have to work on the transmission side of the thing to make sure it's all shifting properly. And so that's what we're gonna do next, get into that, which means we gotta go under the truck, most likely. Here's the lever, I need to bring that back up. Get these out of the way, and I did need to get a new bushing. So there should be well, actually I have it over on the bench, but there's a bushing that goes in there. It's a little tore up, but it's not completely bad. It might be I just use a regular grommet for that. Let me check my box and I'll get back to you. I checked my stash of grommets, and the closest one I came to was this one, but so I'm just gonna put this back in. It's only got a little tear on the edge of it, so I don't think it's going to be an issue, at least not immediately. It might eventually like pop out, but I'll put that towards the bottom, so, you know, gravity. But yeah, let's get that put back in so we can get the shifter lever hooked back up. So taking a look down here at the actual linkages on the transmission. Hopefully I can get you down in there to see. And you can see how much play and loose it is in there. Can I get you in there so you can see it? That's not even, you know, that's just moving. That's a lot of movement for the shifter. So I think there's gonna be some adjustment to do on that too, but I mean, everything works. So there's park, reverse, neutral, drive, 2 and 1. So the shifter seems to be working fine on the transmission. It's just the linkages up to the transmission are really loose. So let's see about adjusting some of that stuff and making it a little tighter, because then we can get better adjustment for the shifter itself up here too. So that's what we're gonna do next. But it's gonna be under the truck, so I don't know how much of it I'll be able to actually film. Some strange angles on that linkages down there, so maybe there's the engine mounts. I think the engine mounts actually are bad. So it might be something else I'm gonna do here. They're definitely oil soaked. Yeah, might need a replacement. I don't know if I still have some of those from when I was playing around with other things with the Firebird. But that's not what we're worried about right now. We're worried about getting that linkage down there to where it, you can even see the one spring is missing. Let's see if I can get you to focus in there. You see right there, there's a spring. There's supposed to be one on top too that keeps that thing in there, but like flexible, I guess you could say. So I'll check that out and see what's going on with that. Maybe add a spring, or I don't know. I gotta look at it. I gotta get closer to it and find out. That means I gotta get under the truck. I hope and get this to be a visual thing, but if you look right there, the lever that's attached right there in the middle, see that nut? This lever looks like it's bent, because you can see where it's actually rubbing on the transmission. I got it pulled out a little bit, but it was rubbing. It was up against that flat. You can see there's a little tiny gap there, but it was up against there. And this spring on this side is completely torn apart, so that's not doing a whole lot of good. That pin up there looks like it's broken. So, but that whole lever right there looks bent or angled wrong. I thought maybe I had to maybe lift the transmission up to get it to level out. But if I do that, I think I just need to pull that bracket off. That lever, I don't know if I can get my arms up in here too, but this lever right here, get that off and bend it. I might be able to make it work. I maybe even repair it so I can put a spring on both sides of it. But hopefully the shifter linkage in the transmission isn't what's freaking bent, because that'll suck. Won't prevent me from driving it, but it's definitely a repair that needs to be done later on. It looks like the pin on this bracket here is bent too, so I might try bending that down to straighten it out too. That'll bring it down so it's parallel. So there's definitely some adjustments to be made there. And then we'll worry about adjusting the shifter to the transmission at that point. We gotta get everything else fixed on it first, the linkages and stuff, so just part of the process. All right, so I got all the parts off of it. That kind of looks like it's got a twist to it. Maybe it's supposed to have a twist to it. Actually, I think it does. It's supposed to be angled. So that looks good there and there. So this piece is good. This piece, however, well, that was one of the springs. This is what they had holding it together, was these stupid little crappy cotter pins. The other thing that's kind of weird is it has a 15 millimeter nut, and being a TH350, you would think it wouldn't have that. Had this weird spacer that matches the size of the thing, of the shifter linkage, and then this thing. So I don't know what is going on with all this stuff, but it doesn't seem to be right. Plus this rides right up against the transmission. And I don't know if you can see marks or not. No, I don't see any witness marks or not. But I don't know where this even came from. It just happened to be in a pile of stuff with this spring and everything. It might have been part of the spring. I don't know. Actually, that was a spring retainer. Okay, so that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know what the deal is with this. It doesn't look crooked. So I'm gonna look at the linkage itself and see what I see on that. I'll throw these parts in a cleaner too while I'm at it. All right, so I'm up underneath the truck, and I took a adjustable wrench and I bent that bracket down so where it's more parallel to the transmission. So that's a lot straighter now. So this piece right here, that right there. So that's straighter now. The other thing I wanted to show you is I remember I was talking about the motor mounts. Yeah, it's a little slimy. So I don't know how good those motor mounts are doing, but I'll probably see about getting some new ones for that too and replace those while I'm in there, because that one's kind of gooped up too. So the other thing, see this rubber hose? That is one transmission line, and I don't like that at all, because I don't know what they were thinking or what they were doing up here, but they put a barb fitting out of the transmission here instead of running hardline. So I'll probably run new hard lines, get a new adapter fitting for that up there that takes a flared, double flare nut. But yeah, that's fun times. But this is the stuff we find when we're playing around with this stuff. So, oh, and the vacuum. I have the vacuum line, but I'll probably make a new one of those too for the vacuum modulator thing right there. But yeah, a lot to do under here, and got that one thing done with that, and try to figure out if I can straighten out that adapter that goes on there too, so it's not rubbing on the bottom, so it doesn't rub down here on the transmission. So I don't know if it's going to come out in camera or not, but you can see there's a little bit of a bend in the middle of that. So I'm going to try to bend it the opposite direction. That way it gets it out away from the transmission, so these edges don't rub on that transmission anymore. You can kind of see the arch there. It's hard to see, but it's there. So if I can get this center right here to go down and bend it inward, it should help out quite a bit. So I'm gonna make it real easy and bending this back. I'm gonna stick it on the press and put 20 tons to it. So that should take care of the problem. At least bring it in, and then I'll worry about bringing these tabs back out once I get that in. All right, so I did exactly what I expected 20 tons to do. Now you see the arch is going the opposite direction. So you just gotta bend these ends out a little bit. Should be good on that. That's a little easier to do. I can put it in the vise and just kind of pull up on it. And the other thing I noticed, yeah, that bracket is a little worn out. So I think I'm gonna have to weld a little piece on there to bring that back to life. It's supposed to be square, closer to that. Well, you can see the original on the edges here, but you can see how it's been worn out. So that's gonna be a really loose shifter as well. So just fixing one thing at a time. I probably have to extend this a little bit too if I'm gonna add springs to both sides, because it's supposed to look the same on both sides. And yeah, either that or I completely rebuild this, but I don't want to have to try to figure out how to make a square hole. I mean, I could do it, but I don't want to. All right, so we can see how that is worn down like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and weld this up on both sides to make it fit a little bit. I don't want it completely tight, but make it fit a little bit better. Then we still gotta extend this to that area, so. But we're gonna start with this. I'm just gonna basically fill it with weld and grind it down. And try to make it a little bit less loose. All right, so we got those repaired and ground down. So now that fits in there the way it should with no extra play. So that should tighten up the shifter a little bit. Gotta clean this up still a little bit more, but other than that, we gotta extend this and make it look like the other side. So I'm not sure I'm gonna do that yet. I'm just gonna make a whole new piece for this side or what I'm gonna do yet. Because just welding that little bit on there ain't gonna make it very strong. But we'll see. All right, so there you have it. It's a little more beefcake than the other side because I had either thinner, thicker, or the exact size that's in this plate right here that I didn't want to cut up. So I'm planning on using those for something. I just don't know what yet. I've got 4 of them. I've never used them. I've had them for years and I don't know what I'm gonna put them on, but there'll be something. But as you can see, this fits perfectly on there now. Well, it'll be the other way, but. So. Well, it did a minute ago. See, there you go. And there's not a lot of play now, so that should smoothen up the shifts a little bit on the shifter. All right, so I got this all set up now. I believe that's the right way. I'm gonna have to check the video to be sure. The shifter knob lines up, so it should be right. But just found some springs. These are actually one spring I cut in half. Used some washers and a new cotter pin to hold them on there. They don't really need it, but it prevents it from moving around too much. And will it last? I don't know. I could probably I need to find like smaller ones, but I didn't have any. So that's what we got. But it works. It's very little play in it actually, so I'm happy with that. Just wish these springs were a little bit better. But those can always be changed and they're the easiest part to change, so So let's get the rod put back up there and see if we got a nice smooth shifter or not. All right, so we got this end of the rod in. It just uses a washer. There's a plastic bushing inside this bracket, and then just a washer, and then a new cotter pin. So that ain't gonna go anywhere. So now just gonna attach the top and see where we're at as far as shifter. Let me make sure this is in park first. Yep, it's in park. This here's the contraction. Come on, focus. This here is what attaches the top. So it bolts on, and then as it bolts in and tightens down, it tightens down onto this little deal here. So I think I got it on foot back. All right, so this is the way that thing goes. So when you tighten it down, it clamps it down onto the tube or the bar. And that's a bushing, and then just a washer and a couple washers and a nut. All right, let's see if we can get this thing hooked up. So the first time I've had the truck up off the ground, and now it's really tall, so it's kind of hard to reach everything. Nine 16ths. So this still moves on there because it's got a sleeve in there, like a bushing or a metal spacer thing. So that way you can tighten it all the way down, but it still rotates inside here and allows it to work. It's time to see if all that effort was worth it or not. See how the shifter works. There's no indicator because that's all missing. I don't know what happened to it, but it was before my time. All right, so we're in park. Reverse. Neutral. That should be drive. 2. Oh, that's 1. Reverse. Neutral. That should be drive. 2. Oh, that's 1. Still pretty sloppy, but it's, yeah, what do you expect from 54 years old? So there's, I think that's reverse. Should be neutral. Drive. 1, 2. Wait. Okay, there's 1. 2. Drive. Neutral. Reverse. And park. I'll have to check the rest of the video underneath the truck and see what it's showing. But it's definitely working a lot better than it was. But we won't know until we actually drive it. But worked out pretty good, I think. It's definitely a lot better than it was. Now we're gonna run through these gears again, but looking at the detent plate up here to see where we're at with that. Okay, we're in park. Down below, I think it's reverse. I think that's reverse right there. That should be neutral. That should be drive. 2, 1. So 1. 2. Drive. Neutral. Reverse. And park. You can kind of hear the transmission clicking at weird times after it seems like it's already in the position it should be in, but might just need to shorten that or bring it up a little bit higher so it engages sooner, if that makes any sense. Okay, so I was able to get a little bit of movement out of this, and I brought it up, so I moved this rod up a little bit to bring this lever down a little bit. So we're gonna run through the gears again, see if they look any better and line up better. I know that detent plate looks like it might be a little bit worn out, so we'll see, maybe we can sharpen it up some. Maybe the slide itself or the lever itself might need to be You know, add a little sharpness to it to let it catch a bit. We're gonna run through it real quick and see what it says, see what it does. So we are in park. That should be reverse. That should be neutral. That should be drive. 2. Maybe that's 1. Maybe you can't go on 1. 2. Drive. Neutral. Reverse. Or maybe neutral. It's definitely park. And 1, 2, drive, neutral, reverse. But going backwards through the gears, it seems to work perfectly. Just more adjustment, but it does work 100 times better than it did when I first got it, because it was just, I couldn't find any gear in it, no matter what I tried. So that's one of those things, we just gotta play around with it some more until we get it figured out. And there's no telling how worn down this detent plate is, or the lever itself that locks onto this. So I kind of want to show you what I discovered. So these detents, I was having the part go way past to the top of this area right here. I don't know how well you can see that. Let me get that plate over here. There, that's better. So I was going past, all the way past here for park. And the next one, that where it's at right now, is park. So that right there is reverse. So that one detent, you have to go past that level to get the reverse. So we're in reverse now. Now one more down, right there is neutral. And the reason why that's neutral is because it prevents you from going back up into reverse without actually pulling the lever. Then you got your drive, 2, and 1. So you got 1, 2, drive, neutral, reverse, and that's park right there. See, I was going past to the top of this for park. So that explains a lot. So we are all set now. It is where it needs to be. All right, I am very happy. This thing is shifting the way it's supposed to now. And the door likes to shut on me now, but so check this out. So we're in park. There's reverse, neutral, drive, 2, 1. 1, 2, drive, neutral, reverse, and park. All right. So we are good to go. Now I just gotta check the switch underneath there to make sure reverse and neutral and all that good stuff is working right and in the right position. But now we got it to where it's right. So it all had to do with me having to detent this thing lined up wrong. And, but yeah, we're good to go. And I'm very happy now. So it's one less thing to worry about. It's one less thing down off the list. Even though I don't have a list, I'm just shooting from the hip a little bit here. So, all right, just gonna finish up this video on rebuilding the steering column. And, oh, my hair looks great. I had my watch cap on earlier. So rebuilding the steering column, fixing the shifter points to where they actually work now. And it is 100 times better than it was when we first got this truck to the house. Because that thing, I couldn't figure out any of the gears. They were all over the place. So, a lot more to come, but we're already, almost an hour into this video, and I don't like going much more than that. In fact, I don't think I've gone over an hour yet on a video, but someday maybe, I don't know. I need more followers, so everybody subscribe if you're watching this. So, on that note, if you like it, like the video, leave a like down there, leave me a comment, let me know what I can do better, and of course, subscribe. So again, I appreciate you all watching. This one of the reasons I do this is so I can entertain people. Plus it entertains me, So, and I enjoy doing the work on these old vehicles. So, thanks again for watching. Until next time, I'll see you all there.